frankly, I'm too lazy for that, and that's why today's episode is going to be about making a impromptu tool. So I really have no idea what I'm doing, but this is what I came up with. So it's basically just going to be a little simple machine with a lever that'll attach to a axle type thing here. I think the supports will be close together, but we'll get to that. Then I'll have a little piece of round stock with a hole drilled straight through it to guide a punch down that the lever will press on. And that should give me the mechanical advantage I need to just pop a hole in each one of these lickety-split. So as long as my metalwork turns out better than my drawing skills, we should be in a good place. Alright, so I got the frame all set and got the two supports for the lever. So now I'm going to move on to all the parts that need to be forged. Right here I'm going to need a piece made out of some decent steel to act as the plate that the sheet will rest on as it's punched. For that I'm going to use a piece of this old salvaged elliptical strut. I sent this into the lab for some highly sophisticated testing, and they sent some footage back and can confirm that this is indeed a spring. So I'm just going to strip the paint off and then throw it in the forge and flatten a section of it, and we'll use that as the base plate. Alright, so the forged parts are finished. We got our little base plate here, all flattened out. Coincidentally, this material I actually got from a big coil spring, so the baby coil spring came from the big coil spring. That's how that works. For the actual punch, I went with the railroad spike, and last but not least, this piece of rebar for a lever. So I think I'm just gonna start with welding on this plate, and we'll take it from there. Alright, so I've installed the lever and the hinge, so next step is to add the guide for the punch. This base plate stuff's pretty hard stuff, so I'm gonna see if I can soften it up by tempering it with just a torch. Okay, so I got a higher quality drill bit here, and it seems to be helping out. Just taking my time. Okay, so at this point I'm pretty sure that this is an air hardening steel of some type. It is hard as a rock. I'm lazy and don't want to go to the store to buy a very expensive drill bit, so I'm going to try a technique that I've seen on the interwebs. Basically, I'm going to use this is obviously too big, but I'm going to use a masonry bit. They have these little spade inserts made out of either cobalt or carbide, I forget which one. They are pretty blunt, which means I'm going to need to add a bit of pressure while drilling. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. Alrighty, we're set to give this a go. Hopefully we don't end up with the masonry bit in my neck. Alright, so that worked fantastically. Thumbs up for the masonry bit trick. And for a cheap Ryobi masonry bit, it's still in pretty darn good shape. So the last major piece, of course, is going to be the actual punch. So I'm going to go ahead and trim off the ends, which are a little irregularly shaped. Then I'm thinking I'll put it in the chuck of a hand drill and try to spin it on either the belt sander or just stationary sandpaper or whatever, and pretty much just try to achieve closest to the size of the hole we drilled and as round as possible. And yeah, we'll take it from there. One of those moments where I've realized that I really should have just started off with the mode of thinking that I would just keep it simple stupid. So my first attempt with the extended lever, I pushed down and it ended up pretty much just bending the rebar and putting a dent into the plate, or the sheet. However, I forgot the first rule of blacksmithing, that percussive maintenance works for most applications. I'll have to figure out a way to free it up faster, but that's what we wanted. So I've settled into a system here that works quite well. I just attached a couple pieces of scrap to the punch, and that lets me free it up really easy after the punch, like that. It's like a wing nut. I oiled the spikes with some linseed oil, and now I'm letting them cook in the toaster oven to season them. I'm just hoping that having a dark spike and a lighter rose will kind of help with some adding some contrast. So I got them nice and seasoned. I'm going to get the sandblaster ready to go and try to use it to remove the scale on the petals and leaves. And once I have the scale removed one way or another, I'll heat the petals up with a torch to get the temper colors to start coming through. And assuming we get through all that without any hiccups, I'll throw a coat of clear coat on and see how they turn out. Alright guys, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you enjoyed it. And if you did, just drop it a like, subscribe, the works. I've been making this video for over a month now, so sorry for the delay. I do have a few ideas for the next couple weeks, so stay tuned, and I'll see you in the next one.